family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia.
Good morning. This is a new day on Focus on Liberia. My name is Priscilla Nyenator. This is a new day on this program. We discuss gender equality or gender justice in our societies. Our conversations cover sexual gender-based violence. We identify root causes, and we're seeking ways to address those and other related issues by harnessing healthy and generally acceptable traditional value systems and practices, healthy religious values and practices, as well as practical global values and systems for women and girls' equal rights. Our hope is that these conversations will lead to a shift in mindset and attitude towards women and girls in our society and in the world. Today on a new day, we have Mrs. Cerue Konah Garlo. Mrs. Garlo holds a master's in conflict resolution. She's a feminist, a peace building activist, and civil society leader who focus on women's rights, advocacy, community mobilization, and citizen participation. Currently, she's the senior gender specialist at the Carter Center Rule of Law Liberia program and a guest lecturer at the Department of Gender, Sexuality, and Sexuality and Women's Studies at Western University, London, Canadian, a member of several professional boards and a member of Lions Club International and Cape Mensurado Lion Club of Liberia. She's also the co-author of What the Women Say, or participation in UNSCR 1325, a case study and implementation of Resolution 1325 in Liberia. She co-authored the intensification of Liberia women's social reproductive labor in a corona epidemic, regenerative possibilities. Oh, we are so glad that you can join us today, Mrs. Garlo. Welcome on a new day on Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Priscilla, for having me. I'm also glad to be part of your discussion this evening in Liberia, and of course, morning for you there.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so I think you heard I was struggling over some of the things you've done so much, so you sent me even a really brief bio of yourself. That goes to show how much you have contributed to, civil society organizations from the grassroots level, to women and girls equal right in our society. So, if you want to go ahead and just tell us about your work as a civil society leader, focusing on women's right advocacy, community mobilization, and citizen participation.
Okay, so thank you, the song you played just now in the Liberian language talks about supporting different sector of the Liberian society. Whether you are abroad, whether you're in Bon Country, whether you're in Bassa, whether you're in Monrovia, whether you're on a farm, all should come together to rebuild Liberia. And this is the message I have helped other people in Liberia to carry forward. Because you can have two segments of the population, you have men and women, and yet and still the women who make up almost 50% of the population is being discriminated against. Inequality do exist. So that's the work I do. All since for the past 25, 30 years, I have tried to give women voice. I have tried to bring women up front. I have tried to join other people so that women issues are brought to the table. So that women issues are not seen as only for women to address. Women issues are seen as national issues. And once the women issues are seen as national issues, it will be given national priority. Of course, when national priorities are made, national budgets are made to support such issues. So that's the work I've done all of my life since I know myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I like something you pointed out. You think it's obvious, but sometimes people need to state it, say it, and then it comes alive. So there was just this aha moment for me when you made a connection, because women issues are national issues, and when we see them as national issues, they will make up the national budget. Will include it in the national budget. That just remind me, recently I tried to get, it's been like a year now, I've been trying to get some leaders on here to talk about these issues. So recently one of them, a male, and then started referring me, uh like, no, I will address another issue. At the end of the day, after stringing me along for like a year, he finally recently said, I will talk about peace building in the future if you want that. But if you want to talk about gender and women's right, all of that, I refer you to my spouse. And so the thinking is that people think that women issues is this kind of, set aside. It's instead of seeing it as a national issue, as a human right issue, because women are human beings, they see it as a their thing. So it's just interesting. I like the way you made a connection. Anyway, that's the point I wanted to make today, that being a national issue and therefore informing our national budget. So thank you, Mrs. Garlo, for making that connection. So you co-author this really great document that I was going through, and so I'm going to go to it so that we can look at in relations to your focus or your work in relation to women's economic empowerment. What is that? First of all, what is women economic empowerment?
I think as I normally want to discuss the issue around women economic empowerment, I normally say it has to do with women having money either in a bag, in a purses, or traditionally have it in a lapper or waistband. And economically, women should be able to make decisions around how they want to spend that money. Economically, women should be able to make decisions on what they want to buy with that money, who they want to use it for, how they want to spend it. And economic empowerment also talk about other resources. I also like to take into consideration the issue around women having access to land, because we know land has economic value. How can women have access to land that gave us so much power and authority in Liberia? Because if you own a piece of land, just a plot of land, a lot that we call a lot of land. In my community, I see a lot of women do vegetable on the land. And my neighbor just migrated from the soul clinic community all the way to Konah farm looking for a land that has easy access to water for her to be able to do vegetable, to send her children to school, help her husband to support the family. So land, money, and all the resources are economic empowerment for women. Yes, they can have all of those, but the decision-making power to utilize the economic resources to be able to support their family, their community, and of course, Liberia allies. So for me, those are the way I define economic empowerment for women. Because when women are economic empowered, it also reduces the issue around domestic violence. Nowadays, the economic situation in Liberia is so bad. No man wants a woman to just be a housewife that will sit and wait for him to bring in food, supply, daily provision, pay children's school fee, and everything else. No. Men also need women to support them. So when women women have economic empowerment, they also help to reduce domestic violence. Of course, the man will not be agitated, he will not be vexed. He will see that the woman is also making contribution. Also, that economic empowerment, when it reduces domestic violence, they also get a woman voice. That woman can be part of the decision-making process. In her house, she and her husband will sit down and discuss how they want to use the resources they have. So for me, that's from a different perspective. I take it when we talk about economic empowerment. I don't just look at money. I look at all of the resources, I look at decision making, and look at her voice. He gave a woman voice. Are you there hearing me?
I'm hearing you. Yes. Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, you just transition to my next question while you were addressing the issue of the economic empowerment, you know, and the next question was going to be how can you relate that to women leadership and decision making? And just like you said, economic empowerment gives a woman a voice in decision making at home. You know, and I think that plays are also on the national scene or national level.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, because one of the things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. Any question?
Oh no, it wasn't a
comment?
question. Yeah, one of the holding women back factor that have been identified is the lack of economic empowerment. Most women don't really have that strong network. I mean, we have women networks, but when it comes to economic empowerment, you know, the men are leading, or from reports that I read in this part of the world is that most of these men get different men, billionaires willing to invest in the in a political ambition. So they mainly will get that kind of support from corporations, from yeah, like I said, billionaires, and just they kind of they are trusted. They have males to support them and have their own resources, because most of them have been working and their wife have been a housewife. So most of the finances are in their names, you know. But for women, most of their labor are free labor, domestic labor, and just other labor. Our society have really do not attach much monetary value, economic value to women labor. So when it comes to her now trying to become a politician or go into something serious, there is just really not that strong economic base for her to fall back on. So that's the point I wanted to make when you were talking about if she can bring in to the home, then she can have a decision making voice. And then I was saying, yeah, it plays out also on a national level.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Recently in my God. You hearing me?
Yes, Mrs. Garlo.
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, yeah. So I said there was a conversation on LinkedIn why would men don't take over Africa. Some people supporting women leadership, and I gave a scenario to the question around education. So growing up in a village with my parents, I was with my mother in the kitchen. I was getting straight instruction, and I think you can relate to that. Other boys, other men, other women can relate to that. 3 years, we've been 5 cup of rest. Watch the pot, put the rest on the fire. Stir the rest. Taste the rest. The rest done. If you're high, add more water. And it was instruction over and over and over. But guess what happened to my brothers? My brothers were all in the community, either playing football or either playing freetown ball or playing play. And while they play their games, they learn to negotiate over conflict. The conflict that will arise from the game. They learn to negotiate, they develop negotiation skills, they develop leadership skills, and all of those. But we, as women, from my experience, I was developing, getting instruction from my mother or my aunts to cook the rice, divide the rice, get a person 2 spoon. So what happens if my brother and myself transition? We went to elementary school, we finished elementary school. In elementary school, I didn't have the opportunity to participate in politics. Of course, they know student politics then was nowhere for girls to be around. So the boys learn. And when you're doing politics in school, whether junior high school, elementary school, or university, of course you negotiate, the manipulation takes place, the decisions are made in the evening, and girls are not allowed to be all after certain hours. So from my experience, then what happens to me? If I get up in my community, I want to be community chairperson. We have to have the skills and the ability to be community chairperson, comparing to a board who negotiated from the football field straight up to taking part in student politics or taking part in youth relations affairs in the school. Definitely, I will not have the skill. But people expect me now to sneeze and be elected as a representative or senator or president or vice president. No, it can't just happen like that. You have to have the training from the beginning stage, and that's why we emphasize girls' education. Girls' education can translate to girls in leadership, to women in leadership at national, international level. So you see the difficulties we have here in Liberia. We have a house of 30 senators and 73 representatives, 103. I think we have 9 female lawmakers with almost 90 something or 80 something plus men. It is why I said that yes, women don't have money, but women also need some skills. I do agree our elections are commercialized, our elections are monetized, our elections are the policies we don't have good laws and policies surrounding our elections. And no, from my experience here, women in Liberia love to run clean campaign. What are you going to do? They discuss the 3 legislative functions of a lawmaker, period. But the men do run campaign. Most of them run campaign based on promises and lies, which the women don't do. And looking at our electors get moved by talks, a lot of talks, a lot of promises. So women don't get a chance to be elected for some of those reasons. Yes, like for instance, we see male candidates do truck and put people in bus, transport people from one community to another community so that people can vote for them. But how many women do have the courage to do that? They don't want to be labeled because we are already labeled as stereotype. So we don't want to be labeled. We want to be as clean as possible as we can be in all the electoral processes. And it's not the same for men. So yes, I normally say, look, I do like we can pick chance to have some women running at the level, but we need to do a lot of training, we need to do a lot of work with girls. Start preparing girls at the community level, inspire girls, encourage them. So I tell men, I say, when I talk about women political participation in the training or in a dialogue, most of the men will fight against it. I said, let me give you an example. When I talk about women political participation and girls in leadership, don't look outside, look in your house. The girls in your house. I asked in your workshop, I said, let me see all the men that got 2, 3 girls in a house. Got 2, 3 women in a family because you have a girl in school. Look in your house. Look at those girls. Don't you want your daughter to be a political leader? Don't you want your daughter to have the kitchen cabinet in her house that she can call meeting and decide how the country of Liberia is? So from our perspective, we start looking at a personalized it. When I talk about women don't look at don't look at Williams, don't look at Asha, don't look at all the women can take up, but look at the women in her house. Then I gave another scenario. I said, when they talk about Zogo, people say I want to rehabilitate Zogo. People say, oh, they are criminals. But look in your family. What Zogos do you have in your family? What is disadvantage you have in your family that you can start rehabilitating? So the same with women's rights. When we talk about women's rights, don't look at all the women then. We in our state. I want to look at the women then in your family. The girls in your family, you got 4 daughters. Like one man said, I got 4 daughters. So I said, will you want any of your daughters to be raped? He jumped out, he knocked the dead and said, what? Man, would do that to my daughter. Before the police get there, I will circumcise that man. I will cut his private part off. I said, good. So you don't want to test your trust. You don't want anybody, so not to for some political to politics. I do agree with you, Priscilla. Always we need money to win election in Lebanon. 100% agree with you, but the other factors is about. You can have a campaign from country, but I said to you earlier, women love to run clean campaigns. I follow women candidates here. They go to campaign and they say they true the fact. The constituents say you build schools. They say as lawmaker, if I'm elected, I will not build school. Of course, I can increase the budgetary allotment to build schools. Oh, but guess what? Male police candidate will come and say yes. It may be district also I will build 17 schools, I build 17 clinics, I will build all the road people fly. Hey, that's the electorate. They believe in life. They believe so another thing I'm doing on change is in the state. I'm not going to school, we have perfect education. Citizens.
Hopefully, Mrs. Gallo comes back in. Hopefully, Mrs. Gallo comes back in. The network was. Oh, there she is. I'm sorry. Hello, Mrs. Gallo. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, continue with you.
Okay, so so as I was saying, we need education back into our school system to teach citizens the rules and responsibilities from the early age. While in elementary school, when I was doing civic, why should I salute the flag? Why should I pledge allegiance to my country? Right? What's my role and responsibility? Do I just throw the garbage in the street? The country now, Liberia, has become so lawless. People say, oh, the government not doing anything, but yes, the government trying to do something because they got police in the street. But police can't be to everybody home. But each citizen should know his or her responsibility to her country or his country. Then you'll be able to help the government to keep this country clean, to protect the country. But lawlessness is on the increase. It's on the increase in Liberia. And you see in every sector of our society. In the traffic, you see lawlessness. And it's not all government people acting lawless. Majority of the lawlessness is done by citizens because we have a whole generation of youth that don't understand the rules and responsibility as citizens. That's it.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot to chew on. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Women we need education. Women need training. And the society as a whole, we just really need to transform and renew our minds the way we see women and girls. How do we see them? Like you said, the personal can be political. So go in the homes and individualize it, make it personal. Say, do not see Cotto Willing and Cotto Reese. Do not think about Asha Kamara. Do not think about Mrs. Cerue Gallo. Think about your daughter. You have 4 daughters. Yeah. Imagine one of them. Would you want one of them to be a political leader? Would you want them to be victims of domestic abuse or rape? So making a issue personal can have an impact, because again, as feminists can say, the personal can be political. So yeah, I agree with you. And as you were saying that, you reminded just last Sunday, I'm going to just share this. Just last Sunday, I was talking to, so I do my advocacy often online, and talk to people, renewing my attitude. So I'm talking to this man, and and he was able to share that, oh yeah, you're right. Because I remember growing up in Sierra Leone, my sister was smart. We were going to school where there were 4 of us. But and then one ugly man just came along. I mean, older man, and then they gave my sister, my sister they marry her off, and they said she needed to marry to this man because he was well to do, so that my brother and I, so that they could pay our school fees, because my mother was struggling with us. My father had, I think, 7 women, and he wasn't, my mother had to be the one who was taking care of everybody, took care of their own children. My mother was struggling to take care of us, and it had to be my sister
Yeah.
that had to be given away in marriage, so that my brother and I, my twin brother and I, could continue going to school. And today my sister is struggling because she started having children so early. And then the man too, he didn't live long, then he died and left my sister with all those children. And today my sister, you know, most time when we talk, she it's like if she had just been allowed to go to school, but situation will be different today. But today I live in the Western world,
Of
I'm doing
course.
well, and my sister is struggling, struggling. All she does is sell and sell and sell, just like my mother did, until something, I think he said, my mother used to carry heavy loads so much, I think something happened with her head, why, and how she died, and he worries about his sister like that. But you're saying, yeah, how girls can be disadvantaged, you don't ask them. I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
that experience to be taken out of school. My brother and I were allowed, and I went to university, and I got my first degree, my master's, and my PhD. And now my sister, she didn't even get to complete high school. She's struggling. And you see stuff like that. It just happens over and over in our society. And then that sister who is struggling has to depend on her brother, and he has his family. His own wife will be complaining, your sister, all her children, you got to take care of my own children. But because women are the one who are disadvantaged. So it's good that you approaching it
Yeah.
like asking those fathers, would you want your daughter to be a beggar in the future? Would you see your daughter being taken out of school to be the one to go and marry an old man just because he had more cattle or something, to be sending support to the mother, so that our brothers can go to school? How unfair is that?
Yeah.
You know,
And it's still happening to in some part of the world.
unfortunately.
Even in like we had stories.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
I was, to be honest, I was surprised to the first time I heard that was, I don't know whether you were part of this training we did at the EU. It was after the war. I don't remember. It was a gender training. The list Ruth Caesar was there. Uh, I don't think you were there, Mrs. Gallo, because I have the picture here, and I remember those. But that was my first time in a gathering, hearing women sharing their story about being taken out of school, because the parents couldn't afford, and then they had to decide between the brother and the sister, and the brothers had to go. There was one lady who now she's one of our big women in a society and educated, but that was her experience. And I was surprised to learn those things, because
Yeah.
sometimes your experience, now another person experience. That was not my experience. I was fortunate to stay
Yeah.
in school, mainly on scholarship. And while my father said, okay, that's my part to play, she's on scholarship, the rest is yours to take care of. So my mother was responsible to, yeah, because yeah, he had other wives as well, you see. So anyway, that was my first time hearing that they can, you know say one child stay home or
Yeah,
two
because
children stay
the
home based
idea,
on your gender.
no, and I don't know, and I only a child, because that child will stay home because just for marriage and become somebody else's property. And you don't want to take care of the name. I can do so that I can carry the father's name is surprise. And they care because they will carry the father's name, they'll be able to take care of the brother, but they care, of course. She'll marry into another.
Yeah, yeah. as though she made it that way. It's the same patriarchy anyway that decided that I will lose my name and take a
Yes,
man's
indeed.
name.
Yeah.
But I have to pay the
Yeah.
price for it. Yeah. So viewers, if you're watching us, this is what we're talking about. We're having this kind of conversation so that we can re-examine the way we as a society, the way we look at women and girls. Are they not human beings? Like, why should I have to pay the price that, oh, you carry somebody's name? It's not my choice to make. You decide that that's how it's supposed to be. Uh, so Mrs. Gallo, let me just read Miss Abby's comment. Miss Abby says, it's so sad to sacrifice. Yeah, I agree with you. But anyway, it's so sad to sacrifice the education and future of a female child for the other children and family to have a good life. I agree with you. I agree with you, sister. Uh, so unfortunately, it's like Mrs. Gallo said, it's still happening. Unfortunately, it's still happening. Just a year or so ago, I learned from some loved ones in Liberia. It wasn't happening in my family, but they were sharing about other people who the school fees price is so high now. So, the other family, they decided, the ball would go. And I'm like, people are still doing stuff like that. So unfortunately, it's still happening. But yet we argue that women want to be given special preference. I'm so glad that Miss Abby is on. I listened to her and I was going to reach out to her. So I will still do that. But somebody said that when they were having a conversation on the same platform, Mrs. Gallo, and they were talking about removing the barriers, and that the playing field is not level for women and men. It was Dennis that was moderating that. He had a really great discussion with Miss Abby and other panelists. And then, so they were talking about, so instead of people recognizing, acknowledging that there are actual barriers, for some reason, I don't understand whether people deliberately not see or they really do not see. They talk out of ignorance. I don't know. It might be either or the other. But we see the situations where women would they have to take care of all of these things at home, so they don't have like some of the things you outline. They're not skilled in negotiation because hey, the socialization, they were taught different things. This is why you focus on how much salt is going to get in the food, what boys are being trained another way. So when you grow up, there are a lot of reasons why women should be consider not giving special privilege per se, but recognize that these barriers, social barriers, economic barrier, religious barriers, um, we report about, like the guest I had last Sunday in her paper. She talked about these women and a particular woman who wanted to go, and the father was a pastor or bishop, and says that no, she cannot go into politics, and on for a year or so. They were begging this father and say, I'm not going to give you your blessing. The husband didn't want her to go. So all of this, how many men have to negotiate with their spouses for them to they just get up and go? I mean, if it's not all men, but it will be like 80%, 90%. Who is the woman is going to stand before her husband? But on the flip side, it's women who have to negotiate and beg and beg and beg, and before they get the spouse, I mean, the support of the male relation to even venture in. So we have,
Yeah, but Priscilla,
yeah.
that's that.
Hello.
Power relations and politics.
Can you
Yeah,
say
hello,
that
you
again?
hear me?
Can you say that again?
Yeah.
You
I
dropped.
said this is okay. I said that I always ask myself the question: why do women always have to give justification for the inclusion? into the different processes, especially when it has to do with power and power relations. Of course, because our societies have been trained that men they want to manage power, men they want to manage authority, men they want to manage decision making. So they see the space as being only theirs and they should not allow women in. So when you want to go in, you have to knock to that door and get permission. When you enter, they tell you the space that you will cover, whether it's only 1 foot or you go in
Or
10
how
feet,
far you
then
can
they
go.
let you
Yeah.
know and you finish you go exactly how far you can go. So that's the situation. So that's why all the work we do, we try hard to change that narrative and say no. Women also have 5 senses. They have potential greater men. They have decision making power and authority. They are someone that gave them the opportunity. When you give them the opportunity, you see what will happen. Even women at the rural community, rural women who haven't gone to school. When you give them the opportunity to lead at a community, to be town chief, fireman chief, district commissioner, wherever, you see the difference in the community. You see how the community function. The community will function differently as compared to when men are in charge of those communities. Because when women thinking about the community, she thinking holistically. She thinks about family. She sees the community as a family. So she responds to the community as a family. Whereas men see the community as leader decision, they see the community as people who in authority and they will exert all the power and authority to make things happen, which is quite different from that of the women. So these are some of the reasons why we always try to work at a community level, get local leaders to understand that women too should be involved, get national leaders to understand that women should get involved. Political parties, those are the areas that women don't normally be at decision making level because all the political leaders will be men. They'll get few women. It's nowadays that you see women at vice president for political affairs, vice president for administration, or political leader. But before, we never had the opportunity to do those. Political parties were dominantly for men, and women were there to be the sasa, cook the food, and go purchase and do whatever. They were not in a key decision making position, but now it's changing. And this is why we should continue to engage positively. I can tell people, I say, yes, we have rights, or the kind of situation we find ourselves in, let's behave like a small rat. When a small rat is biting you, it's blowing, and you don't feel a bite. Until in the morning when you're ready to go, you're ready to take a bath, or you want to wear a shoe, or you want to do something, then you see the sole on your feet or your finger or wherever you have eaten at night. So we should behave like that until we get what we want. Because Priscilla, I tell you, until more women take over Africa, take on leadership, we'll continue to have the problem we have. We'll continue to have the social economic problem. We'll continue to have corruption. We'll continue to have impunity. We'll continue to have all the bad vices you can think about. Because most leaders are men in Africa and they don't think the way women think. But the system has been shaped to just suit them and to make decisions around that. So we need to continue to engage. We need to continue to do advocacy, and we need to continue to empower women so that women also can take over here.
I agree. That's why we're talking about transformational leadership, thinking about the whole as compared to thinking about the individual, just passing orders down as the male style of leadership. I tell you, do it. Uh, then the woman will like, what you think about what should we do? Involving everyone. When I was reading on transformational leadership, based on gender, those are some of the some of the characteristics of the difference between the gender. But yeah, so I agree with you. We need to continue to have this kind of conversation and empower and And we have different approaches. Yeah, that other approach you talk about is great. We can negotiate. We can act like the rat and be biting you little by little. And some of us can be like, and some of us can be like, no, this space belongs to all of us. So when I was saying about so these people call in, someone was like, why should women be giving being special privilege and so, and then the panelists, so Miss Abby was like, I don't, it just like I would have expressed it, because I don't get how come people don't get it, that this is not giving special privilege. Dennis already put a picture or something to just give people the visual to say these are the barriers. So we say, if you want to make it equal, you can just jump on and say they are equal. No, that we need equity, so that's what we're talking about. But then somebody still come and say, no, we can compete, they should be on the same level already. How would they, when I who claim to know myself, I worked at a place before I came over here where I will keep being reminded, just because the guys want to stay there, they say I'm in leadership, but they want to stay there and make a decision that I wouldn't be a part of. They'll keep saying, oh, Priscilla, you going home? Are you going to take care of your family? After 5? Oh, you going after 7? Okay, but you're still here. How come I can't be here? Because for you, you should go home and take care of it. But you married, you should go and take care of the family. They should hang out. Then those are the places, those are the times where they make decisions that, and you don't have much impact, because before you get back, they made it the most important decisions, and they just run it by you. Yeah. You just run it by you.
And so sometimes people ask, okay, so we have this on the family house. So we ask people say, but Cerue, the Constitution gave everybody a right. So why women asking for particular favor or privileges? So I say, all our countries have taken affirmative actions. When you can't get law to pass, they got to take affirmative action. So that's affirmative action we're asking you to take. I said, why would they didn't have, what? But they didn't have confidence in the recruiters, in the police, in the immigration, in the army, in the other security apparatus. Women never after the war, they never have confidence in the system. So what we did, we took affirmative action. I remember they had to lower, they had to recruit women that were in 9th grade, young women that were in 9th grade, and carry them through a period of training. As Stella Marie, they trained all the time. They took WIAG and went through the process and finished. Then they were recruited into the police. And we started taking some other affirmative action. They brought in the all-army police. I mean, we started seeing women getting trust and confidence in the security sector. We started going to communities and encouraging women. These are the benefits. You're young. If you join, you have to make changes. If you are in the section or you commander, if women come there with kids, you'll be able to handle, all the conversation with community level. Those are all affirmative actions that were taken by the government and also supported by civil society. And if we don't take affirmative actions in Liberia, we're not achieve certain quota that we want to achieve. When I have women come in the house, the number keeps dropping in both houses, in election later, because we said it earlier, the women, for several factors, culture, the society don't see women, families don't see, some families don't see women as leaders, some families do see, but they don't have the resources to support the women, and all the kind of things. So yes, affirmative actions, and some of the conversation we're holding today now, if it is widely in Liberia, people listen to it, and some people it will try to transform people's mind, help people to think differently. Yeah, so we need this kind of conversation. We need it at the community level. We need it at the household level. Empower your daughters with good words. Don't say you for nothing. Oh, people don't call your daughters good for nothing. Oh, what your daughter? Oh, my medical doctor, my scientist, my politician, and you gave for her self-esteem. But if you try to use words or languages on your daughters that will continue to lower the self-esteem, of course they will be shut up. They will be quiet. They won't say anything. Tell your daughter, say, no, you can be president for your class. Once you meet all the criteria, you want to be president for your class, you want to be president for your school, you want to be vice president. Because the position they always give women a financial secretary and treasurer to keep the money. Because they know women will not normally eat the money. I had that situation growing up. Growing up in elementary school, I was treasurer for my elementary school. Junior school, I went treasurer. Then I said, I think when I go to the university, I will be accountant. I will study. I stayed so long in the university library. Right, there will be a content practice for some time, but I didn't feel fulfilled. Until I did 6 months social work training, I'm all a pattern. And I started all my advocacy. I want that, you see? So those are some of the reasons that we can get women to move forward.
Yeah. I know they define, they carve out space for you. They say stay within this perimeter. This is what we have for you. This is so like you said, they will decide whether you should take one foot or how far. And it's in the language that the society tell, the way we speak. Again, I'll refer to her. Miss Abby was responding to someone just like I did to another person a few years ago. So when I heard it, I say, thank you, sister. Now, we allow the women, like, no, you're not allowing me. It's not your table. It was all of us in the first place. And the patriarchy told us it's yours, so your thing is yours. But no, it's for all of us. We're all human beings. Like you just said, Mrs. Gallo, we all have 5 senses. Why is it more yours than mine? Why are you allowing me? So I had a conversation. I had to push back at somebody for that a few years ago. There was this conference that gathering that I presented, and then we're having a discussion, and I raised issue that I'm saying they're being unfair, and the person come up, you're not being fair, Priscilla, because we allow you. The other time, I'm like, you did not allow me. This is our organization, and I was doing you. Yeah, I was renewing your service. So no, you don't allow women. But yeah, because they think the space is for, they think the society, our world had told men that the word is for them, as in the biblical language that say, and then men were created, and then later God thought and afterthought and say, you know what, I will make Mrs. Gallo so that she can go be cooking food for Adam, because he needs help, he needs support to do his mentally and his humanly work that I created him for. And then this accessory I just created later as an afterthought to just do the parts that he does not want to do. So those translate into our attitude and mindset. And that's
and Priscilla, you just took me for the last I'm going to just in a few minutes. I want to respond to the thing about some mind saying we allow you. I remember journalists, high level journalists, editorial staff, managing editors, and one of the guys people looking for
you want to go back, you won't go out and come back in, Mrs. Gallo. We're not getting you. We need to get this part. Do you want to go out and come back in?
I should log off and come back and hear me now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
I'm hearing you.
Okay, so I said what? I have is both male and female, and what
we're not getting you. We're not getting a story.
You getting me now? Hello?
When you say that, we can get you, but then when you start to, yeah. Okay.
Hello, Priscilla, you getting me?
Yes,
You
yes,
getting me?
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
so as I was saying, we're doing a roundtable with some Liberian journalists, and we're giving justification why the editors that were in the room and the media owners should employ more women in decision making, even women editors, so they'll be able to carry story, front page story, and headline story for women. And when a journalist sat in a room and said, "Oh, Mrs. Garlo, women are just lazy. Women are just lazy. The women, they talk about women are just lazy." And men, our me, Estella Maureen, say, all blew off. I put my hand. I said, "Why you say women are lazy?" I said, "You know what it takes to have a child?" I said, "You sitting here, your mother was lazy. She was going to kill you on the delivery bed." And the whole room turned quiet. And somebody said, then
Yeah,
the other man
thank
said,
you.
"Wow,
Those are
Mrs.
the
Garlo, you
sexy things
so
that
passionate.
they say.
So passionate about this thing here." I said, "Yes. Why you say women are just lazy?" So I told him that. I said, "Women were lazy. None of you will be sitting, your mother will kill all of you because to born a child. It's a serious labor required." And the whole room got quiet later on. Everybody else started talking, and he can never forget me. He can never ever forget me. Every time he read the talk, he said, "Mrs. Garlo around or senior general specialist, she will deal with me when I say something all the way." I said, "Think, at least you remember something."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a great example of the kind of sexy things that without thinking.
Yeah,
And we talk about some of them in
yeah,
our last broadcast. The kind of really misogynistic comments that people make
yes,
without thinking about it. So it was really great that people like you were there to challenge that. And when you push back at that, then they say you passionate, you this, you intense. For me, that's what I've been to. No, is that because I'm aware so that I can check you on this, because some of the excuse can be, but your friend women they ain't have problem with other all may not be aware because we've all been socialized to accept this as normal. So it takes for you to be thinking from a gender perspective to say, no, this is sexist. You wouldn't say about a guy. What do you mean women are lazy? And some of
yeah,
those comments, they're not even investigated. Some of those perception,
no,
they're not investigated. They don't
no,
deeply think about
not
it. They
at
just say
all.
them because
No,
because they've heard them
they say
around.
that because of the ego. Sometimes they haven't heard anything that they won't say because of the ego, because of the greed for power. Don't want to share that space with a woman. And you talk about religious institutions. These are the people who really need to work with religious leaders
I agree.
because they have their own interpretation about what God see and what God say and what God means. And those are some of the institutions, the leaders that truly bring women down. I was at a wedding recently, and the man, the first thing he started preaching on, you cannot have a woman in the house and she wearing trousers. There are two men, they fighting to wear a trouser, and the woman fighting to wear her trouser, fighting to take out her trouser. And I was sitting there, my colleague in the office, he said, "Hey, man, I beg you, don't read." Actually, the pastor will share, he will hear you. So I think Christian, if I Christian, I said because I can challenge him on every voice that he will, the chapter of the Bible he will quote because he just preaching from his emotion. So the woman, everything about the woman, he said you're going to preach for 15 minutes, he preached for 20 minutes, everything about the woman.
Yep.
And everything he said, I rebuke him, and he will look in my direction, right? So these people have followers. My point here is these people have followers, a lot of followers who believe in them because some of them do manipulate people to get what they want from them.
Yeah.
So if they're teaching their followers these things about women, how do then men in a society change? Because it's very men sit in the mosque and whatever religious institution and listen to the pastors who they believe in so much, the imams, the rabbis, who they believe in so much. Tell them say a woman not supposed to come to church or in a mosque or in a synagogue when she's menstruating because she's unclean. She's not supposed to cook for you. Right? So you need another woman who will have different period of time that when the other woman is menstruating, the other woman will cook. So if these pastors, religious leaders say those things to their people and say, no, woman not supposed to woman not supposed to wear plastic. Oh, woman not supposed to pin her face because I had to call it makeup when I want to be sarcastic. Woman not supposed to pin her face. So they take woman and put woman in your box and decide how you should move.
Yeah. Exactly. But it says Cerue, you say 20 minutes of the preaching was on. You said 20 minutes of the preaching was on the what a woman should do. That's how the patriarchy has trained us. Don't you see in the word?
Yes.
Don't you see the number of books that are dedicated to women keeping your marriage, women having how to hold on your. I mean, everything is about this is how we want the world to be, and this is how what we expect. How you this is our world, and this is how we expect you to navigate this world. So you go in bookstores, Christian bookstores or other books, books are more about what women should do as compared because for men they don't need fixing. Men are just okay, and they exhibit that even for some of us who are domestic violence advocate, and we talk with people. You see husbands will be like, yeah, she needs to go for counseling because so in his mind he doesn't have any problem. Or when you're women leader in the church, you see pastor say you need, or the pastor themselves tell you you need to talk to your woman because there is problem in the home, you need to talk to her. So it's always the woman that needs to conform. There is something wrong with her. She needs to be fixed. The man is okay. So yeah, that's so you expect a wedding message to go all to the woman and the man is fine. Yeah. But lastly, I wanted you to quickly talk I wanted you to quickly say something about analyzing the TRC report from a female women perspective. You share a story about in your presentation at the International Women Conference recently. You talked about how y'all had to walk along with tank choirs to ensure that they presented your messages the way you wanted it to be presented, because most of the time the time criers were men. That just tells you how we now realize that when there is a way that story is narrated that doesn't include the feminine or the women perspective. So that was something you said. And then lastly, then you share about in the TRC report. You said you mentioned a case about a woman who was raped 7 times and now she has 7 children. And you say, if we're doing reparation, how do we repay a woman like that? But unlike the kind of story some of us have heard, and I was talking to a TRC commissioner telling me about this man who his testimony was so sorry for, his case was so sorry for. Why? When he started presenting, everybody in the room was crying for him. What was his story? His story was that the other soldier or rebel raped this man mother and this man wife and this man daughter in his presence. So the one that really heard the man rape his mother. So she with our meaning too, she meant well. But because we all have been socialized like this, that our life is about men. So the focus wasn't about the real victim. So I had to bring her to the point to say, hey, think about this. These people were hurt because of a man. If they wanted to harm the man, why the man who did the raping didn't rape a friend man? Why he got to rape 3 women to hurt one man? Is because patriarchy has socialized or for men to think that our pain are the pain. Things that hurt them is by hurting us. No woman should have to suffer to make a point to a man. I'm sorry, that's a sad story. But why wasn't he raped? They had to rape a man, his wife, his daughter. So the real victims in this story is not the men, it's the women that we should be thinking about how to address their psyche or the damage done to them. So when you share that story about a woman who was raped 7 times, I say I will ask Mrs. Garlo to talk about the TRC looking at the feminine perspective.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened when the TRC, the whole TRC process started in Liberia, was new for us in Liberia. So we thought that women participation should be at every level. So first of all, we negotiated, we lobbied, we have women commissioners. Then we also negotiated and lobbied. We have a gender desk. Then we have gender children reconciliation. Gender committee that is to meet every week to look at the different dimensions. Women really I had a call coming in. Hello, you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you, man.
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you, Mrs. Garlo. Yes, we're hearing you. Hello? We're hearing you, Mrs. Garlo.
Sorry, Priscilla, I had a call coming in. I had to reject it.
Okay.
So as I was saying, so we were doing everything to have the children reconciliation process in general, have women rights issues. So when the hearing started, a lot of women were not appearing for the hearing because of fear, because of backlash. They thought that when they came to the hearing and they even talked in camera, people would still take the story of us.
Oh my God. Hello?
And the warlords were already in power. They were all in the community.
Okay. Go ahead. Oh my God. I think someone is trying to call her.
Hearing me?
Yes.
So call me. Yeah, hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, so we established, we divided the country into 4 regions and created a safe state where women could tell a story. And during that process, we were able to talk to 500 plus women that gave us their stories, their testimony, things that happened to them, the core needs and everything because the first stage. And we were able to compile all the stories and we were able to turn the stories over to the TRC that form part of the women report, the women making all recommendations around reparation, around amnesty, around justice, around true reconciliation, and all of that. So because they didn't feel comfortable testifying, and another thing that happened too, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission did not have the resources to reach all over Liberia. So we were stepping in their shoes to reach all in the villages where women were. And some of the villages when we went in there, we had to wait there in the evening where we got permission from the elders, the local leaders. They allowed it. The town crier, we explained what we want to do to them, and they allowed the town crier to go with us and made the announcement and everything. The women were able to gather the next day or the day or two. And we went just to talk about the TRC, but I tell you, Priscilla, was a whole healing section. There were times that the whole morning section was just singing and dancing. And the whole afternoon, one person got to tell a story. We all could cry together. All back to telling us this. And we were able to connect the stories. We still have some stories that we collected from that we want to compile in the future, even though not in the names, but compile in the future so that people know what's more. Even some things that said, what things that happened to women and have been told about their because too many unhid stories that have not been told, untold stories of women.
Yeah.
People need to hear or their story. So that's what really happened. We only talked to 500 plus women. I gave her the story. It was a big program that really drew the attention of the international community, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The commissioners were really happy that we did that because they didn't have sufficient information from women because the women did not have confidence. There were issues around security. I remember in Southeast when the women started in G, one woman testified in the open to the TRC and called people's name. And now they started looking for her, chasing her. They had to, the Reconciliation Commission even had to issue a release and cited the person who was threatening the woman, all of that. So it brought fear among the women. So we had to step in now and create a safe space for women to tell a story. And yes, they told a story, and the story is the one that make up. If you read the TRC report today, you'll see the recommendations that women made there in the report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Garlo.
And
Thank
we
you.
heard a lot of stories about a woman who said she was raped 7 times and she got 7 children. So I should when the manager was living with the children, and that our children, she loved them, but she also hate them. The exact word she used. I love them, but I hate them. When thinking about the act of rape, someone forcing me to have and to do man business with me, that I would call it that, do I have sex with me, right? Against my will. Then I got pregnant. So what do I do? She said, I'm caught between. I just at the crossroad. I love them, I hate them, but they are my children, they are my blood. They are not responsible for what happened to me. That was her consolation. Yeah, that was her consolation. We have a lot of story. Another woman, they chop her husband out to pieces and told her to go bathe her husband. And all she could remember, he lying the pieces, and she was bathing in the river, and the blood was flowing. I mean, horrible stories that we need to. And it was good that we were able to find out we need to tell the stories. Because it was also a healing from someone else. Someone have never told a story to anybody. They told us they have never told a story to anybody. In fact, they didn't even use recorder. They didn't carry recorder or pull our phones off to show them, and they told a story. And it was a whole healing because we did something we call candlelight, where we had a candlelight, we pray, we sing, about a traditional. Some people even perform rituals, as cleansing, all of that. It was really a powerful way of getting people's voices, getting people's story, and also healing for me was very key. And assuring, because if you heard somebody's story, you thought you had a worse story. But if you heard somebody's story, you say, wow, I thought I worked for 3 weeks. But for me, I worked for 3 weeks with my 2 months old baby. My son was born May, July. With 3 months old baby, I worked for 3 weeks. And it was really painful. But when I heard other people's story, I said, gosh, thank God I worked for 3 weeks. My baby survived. When I raped, somebody was raped. Someone's husband was murdered right in front of them. So, so it was reassuring that, yes, we all have problems, but there's somebody who have a better problem. That person can survive. Why can't you survive? Why can't you put your head above the waters and move on with it?
Oh my God. What you just shared, that's about mainstreaming gender in our approach. So that was good that you stepped in, and the TRC was, because it sounds like initially they didn't mainstream gender. So how will women come forward? But it was good that you step in and yeah.
They tried. That one of the commission with me because of lack of, they had limited resources, with the government, never have money. Our foreign partners, donors were funding the TRC. So they couldn't just reach every community.
Okay.
They actually, one of the commissions to me, take women issues into consideration.
Great.
I keep having a call. My son is calling me. I have my brother that is ill.
Okay.
He went to the hospital to
so you want to okay. So you want to leave us with your final comment, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. So as I normally say, in every conversation I hold around women's rights and women's inclusion into processes, let us not see women issues are only issues for women to address. Women issues are human rights issues. Women issues are national issues. Are national issues, and should be addressed by national government and everybody else in the family of what the government. Once we see women issues and address them appropriately, that everybody will see the benefit of it. But not seeing women issue like, oh, you call the women, one woman was beating you, one more, you call the women, no. Fix the system. If you fix the system will respond to needs. So that's all I have to say. That's my parting comment.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. We appreciate that. And I agree with you. that women issues are human right issue. Economic empowerment is a fundamental human right issue, and all the other thematic issues that you discuss with us today, the violence against women and women political participation, uh, education as well, because it will help to enhance access to productive resources. When we are economically empowered, like you said, a woman is not in a vulnerable position when it comes to violence, and when she's independent, she can be able to decide to be herself and walk away from an abusive relationship or marriage or whatever it is. So audience, thank you, viewers. Thank you for staying with us this time, for throughout this program. It's a new day. Let's start. Let's be reimagining. Let's be rethinking the way we think. Why we think about the way we think about certain things. Why is our work structured in certain way? Things don't happen by accident. These things are not organic. We can see, as we talk about these things, we can see that most of these structures were man-made. Have they served on the purpose for good for all of us in the world? Can we have a better world if we try another way, but especially by including everyone and not discriminating against people based on their gender? So thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Miss Abby. Thank you, Mrs. Gallo, for staying with us. And it's a new day. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Take care, everyone. Bye bye. This Abby say it's a good show. Thank you. Thank you. Um Something say I'm watching live from Doe community at the national headquarters of the National First Time Voter Association. Okay. Anyway, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. Please join us next Sunday. Please join us next Sunday. We can't talk about these kind of things enough. We can't talk about these kind of things enough. But yeah, while we wait for Dennis to come and close us, um, let me just be hanging out with us and just sharing that some of the things that we don't really actively think about. Oh, he's here. Some of the things that we actively don't think about, like, I know when I started sharing about what the Bible says or what the intention of the gods that we believe in, wasn't for hierarchy, for men to be above women, but that all of us were created in the image of the gods that we believe in. And people started getting upset and started writing me like, "Oh, I was supporting your advocacy, but now you're taking it too far." And I had to be responding to people. If I have to work within your perimeters to keep your support, then maybe I'm good with R8, because you don't get to determine how far I go by your language, taking it too far. So you decide what is too far or what is where I operate within. So no, uh, um, but we continue to say on this program, all of this is so that we can be able to challenge our thinking. Why are certain things we hold to be true? Have we investigated actively those kind of things? So that's what this platform is really about. We'll continue all the time, but this platform is to shape the perception of women, or reshape. We can say reshape and reframe. So yeah, it's a new day. Hopefully, we leave it for the next generation after us, but most especially that we experience it first before we pass it on. Thank you again for staying with us. Dennis is here now to close us.